Wukong is usually played as a bruiser that's all about engaging and landing big knockups, while his team does all of the damage. But I have found a player who plays Wukong completely differently, playing him instead not only as an assassin who can kill enemies with just a couple of abilities, but more specifically as an AP assassin. This is TigertheTiger, a dedicated challenger Wukong main, who refuses to play Wukong as a bruiser, instead inventing an AP build to make him feel much more like the old Wukong. But he has also found a special interaction with Ludens that lets him proc the item multiple times in each combo for way more damage, and discovered a new interaction with Wukong's clone that makes AP into a viable build. And even more interestingly, he told me that he managed to hit Challenger without even knowing the abilities of other champions. So there's definitely something special about this player. Hey everyone, it's HappyChimeNoises, and this video is sponsored by Touching Grass. Just kidding, this is awful. It's actually sponsored by Porofessor. I'm gonna go back inside. Porofessor is a free app that's actually used by a lot of the high elo players from these videos. So out of game in Champ Select, if you're busy doing something else, Porofessor has you covered, importing the best runes to your client automatically, so you never end up trolling the game. And then when you get in game, Porofessor has stats analysis so you can see where you need to improve if you want to climb, jungle timers so you can know exactly when each camp is up to prepare for it, and if you do want to jungle, Porofessor also has the best jungle paths for each champion. Pick a champion and find the path on their profile, or find them in game by clicking this book icon. And let's not forget all of the other great features, like being able to see what your teammates are like in Champ Select, maybe they're auto-filled or first timing a champion and you can dodge, having patch notes so you can catch up with the game, and even a tab to find friends to play with. Porofessor is completely free and super easy to set up. Click the link in the description to download it and immediately start using it in your next game. Back to our player, Tiger started playing League in Season 3. He told me that as a new player, since he didn't know the names of the champions, he would call them by their player names, so whenever he wanted to focus someone in a team fight, he would shout out their username to his friends. In Season 4 was when he first discovered Wukong. Back then, Wukong was a straight up bruiser with the classic items, and by Season 5, Tiger had discovered a role model for him to watch, a challenger Wukong main on North America named Alorim. He studied Alorim's games and was able to climb up himself to Master by Season 7, but even though he hit Master, he was still missing huge chunks of League of Legends knowledge. He wasn't really playing League, he was just playing Wukong. He told me that by Season 8, even though he was closing in on Challenger, he still didn't know what all of the other champions did. He'd played for 5 years and he just never bothered to learn, often swapping lanes with his teammates to avoid champions when he didn't know what their abilities were. Even with this incredible weakness, with a one-shotting Assassin Wukong build, he was able to hit Challenger. Tiger's playstyle is nothing like classic bruiser Wukong, much preferring the full damage glass cannon builds that could let him destroy an AD carry in one combo. So in Season 10, when Wukong was reworked, Tiger didn't really care. Even though Riot made him one of the best bruiser picks in the game, Tiger wasn't a bruiser player. He loved Assassin Wukong and didn't want it to change. So for years he stuck with this Assassin build, staying in high elo, and that leads us to Season 12. The Assassin build was playable, but Tiger thought he might be missing something that was better, so he looked back at the rework, and he noticed something. Wukong's Q and ultimate both had their AD scaling nerfed, and his E, the dash, had all of its AD scaling removed, but that was replaced with some very good AP scaling. Also, the clone was now able to attack enemies, which it turns out is a very important part of the AP build. So Tiger began testing it, still playing like an assassin. But even with this AP scaling on one ability, how can that be enough for this pick to be viable even in high elo? Well, let me explain. AP Wukong's damage is very weird. Wukong's Q, his ultimate and auto attacks, they're all still AD. So to start the game, Tiger builds a small amount of attack damage. This helps him get through early game, but as the game goes on, more and more of Wukong's damage comes from the fact that he has incredibly high AP scaling on his E, as well as having a very low Q cooldown. So Tiger's strategy is to buy a Sheen, as well as Ludens Echo, taking Ingenious Hunter in his runes. This rune has a special interaction with items like this that have a cooldown. The purpose of this rune is to make items like Zhonyas, for example, have just a lower cooldown, but it also works with items like Sheen, Lichbane, and even Ludens Echo. So with this lower cooldown, Wukong is able to very efficiently proc their actives repeatedly in a fight, and thus get much more value out of them than other champions. The main way he can do this is with Wukong's Q. It's a low cooldown, high range auto attack reset that works well with Sheen and Lichbane, but Wukong also has a special interaction with Ludens and his clone. The way this works is that the clone can actually proc Ludens when it uses an ability, and when you combine that with Ingenious Hunter, which reduces the cooldown as well, Ludens can be procced quickly multiple times in a fight for even more burst damage. So even in a short fight, this item will give an extra 400 damage just from the active part, which adds on to your already high burst damage. These really strong item interactions is what lets him kill carries and still play as an assassin, but that's not the end of the strategy. In fact, when we get in game, Tiger is playing Wukong mid. Just like building AP on Wukong, playing mid lane seems like a bad decision. He's laning against poke champions on one of the most squishy melee champions in the game. Wukong has very low health early on, as well as low range, but since he's playing a full damage build, by picking mid lane, he's able to lane against squishy mages and other immobile picks, which he's able to catch and burst down even early on for 1v1 kills. At level 1, Tiger takes E. His level 1 is absolute hell against range champions. He takes E just to give him the chance to collect some CS, but his main focus is avoiding taking any damage. If he gets poked down, he has no way to recover. Against other melee champions, he's actually pretty good in lane, especially at level 2 where he gets his Q and can use the range to get some poke. But at level 3, the hell that is his laning starts to get a bit easier thanks to his clone. Tiger can do this sneaky combo, using E to enter the fight, pressing Q and then W immediately, and if you do it fast enough, your clone spawns as your Q hits, meaning you double the ability as well as proc Electrocute, and can also dash away to safety to avoid damage. You can already see the damage is pretty good, and with an early base to buy Sheen, when he hits level 6, he's super ready to go for an all-in kill. Unlike most mid laners that have to poke you down and then all-in you, Wukong's kill combo is so fast that even if enemies are full HP, Tiger still goes for it, using his EQ for burst, and then using ult to stall for his Q cooldown to come back up, which finishes off the kill. He takes Ignite and Electrocute to help with this, just like any good mid lane assassin. Tiger, as I mentioned, is a challenger level player, but in some of these games on Wukong, even against a scaling mid laner, he's already down 40 CS. This is incredibly low even if you're a gold player, but despite this, as soon as he gets level 6 and Sheen, his damage suddenly spikes, making the last 5 minutes irrelevant. When his ult is up, he can even collect kills in other lanes, but he does need to play safe when his ultimate is down, as he is very squishy, still only having about 1000 health. With the recent patch, Wukong had both a buff to his AP ratios on his E, so that was great for Tiger, but also, of course, he got a huge buff with his W, getting an extra dash on the ability. This is really great for his engages in lane, and especially setting up ganks. Wukong now is a lot more mobile, so he's constantly threatening enemies. He's constantly stopping his champion in lane, pressing the S key, using Mindgames as often as he can. Even if he can't get a kill 1v1, he could be setting up a gank. You could see him do this 10 times in a row, and nothing would happen, but the 11th time he would press W to dash up against you and engage. Enemies will never know when he's going to do it, making it very hard to avoid. You can really see how behind Tiger gets when he roams, often rotating top to make sure tower doesn't die, where enemies think they're way stronger than him, seeing his lack of health and possibly even being lower level, but then one burst combo and they're pretty much dead. Enemies never expect it. You can never quite tell how strong he actually is, and it only gets more interesting when he gets AP. He does buy some AD early on. This item is Mana Moon. Wukong's really good with hybrid damage, but it also has great synergy with his mythic item, which is Ludens. Ludens gives him damage, and of course the mana makes Mana Moon do more damage. But very importantly, Tiger doesn't buy tier early on, as there's a bug where Wukong's Q doesn't stack it. Riot, please fix. So Tiger has done his research and adapted to this, buying Sheen early on instead, and only buying Mana Moon when he can buy the full item, because then his Q does stack it and the bug doesn't happen. It's a great system. Then buying his AP to abuse the multiple Ludens proc strategy I mentioned earlier, and then another bonus of this build is you can buy Zhonyas, the item that all AD champions wish they could have. And for Wukong, again, there's another special interaction. Not only is he invulnerable in fights with it, but his ult also keeps going when he's inside Zhonyas, so he can be doing damage, getting knockups, reducing his Ludens cooldown, all while he's completely untouchable. And it really is a glass cannon build, so Zhonyas helps him a ton to keep him alive. As well as this, your clone is even more important with this build, for outplaying enemies. Usually clone is a bit of a distraction, but with this build it's now actually a second health bar that you must get enemies to hit, or you will not survive. In exchange for the squishiness, of course he does way more damage, and is much better for 1v1 kills, as you can see in mid game where he's moving around the map, looking for picks with his trap combo. The way this works is that as soon as your E E lands, the enemy is practically already dead. Your initial burst hits, and then knock-up traps them, which sets up your second burst, and another ultimate if you need it to lock them down even longer to finish them off, giving them almost no time for them to escape. Then in teamfights, AP Wukong is just like any other assassin. He dives the enemy carry as fast as he possibly can to try and burst them. Anyone who is even slightly low is dead to a single E auto Q ignite, not even needing ult with this build. But the advantage you do have over other assassins is your ability to peel with your ultimate if you need. In fights, usually you don't want to engage with your W, it's your only dash, and of course it's a damage tool as well, with the Ludens build. This player is really weird to watch because he breaks his own rule engaging with W and then even uses flash, and still can't reach enemies with it, just dying. I really wanted to show you this clip not just to make fun of him, but to show you that even if you make huge mistakes, this pick can still work. As long as you're using your damage windows correctly, you can still win games. This Wukong is definitely not a KDA player. In every fight he wants to do as much damage as he can even if he's going to die. Even if maybe he could escape, he prefers to go all in with his burst to help his team win, and you can see a situation here where it really pays off. Because he all-ins as he's about to die, his E damage even goes off after his death, turning this bad play into a double kill, which his team can then clean up. A trick he does have if he needs to escape is to use clone while you run away, and then use your Q, as the clone will automatically hit the closest enemy, which gives you bonus movement speed thanks to your Ludens. Late game, AP Wukong is exactly like any other assassin. He always has great damage and can always land a big burst to carry a fight, but he is quite reliant on flash. You can now kill squishies with just EQ in some cases, having ult ready for CC and peel if you need, or just 1v1 other assassins. Now before I show the build, there is an important question. Is this build actually good? Well, Wukong's win rate at the moment is actually close to 53%, so this champion is really good after the W buffs. However, Tiger himself says, is this the best build? No. Is it very fun and does it work? Yes. I think for climbing, neither of us really recommend AP Wukong compared to the Bruiser build, which would be much more reliable, but for a fun assassin build that has some really unique item mechanics, and the special interaction with the rune, as well as working in high elo, I do think that this player is amazing. Also, any pick that can 1v1 in Aurelia is something we love to see, so it can't be that bad. For his full AP build, he starts Doran Shield for as much safety in lane as possible, getting Sheen early on and the other items with cooldown so he can spam them, with Lich Bane next as another item that works with Ingenious Hunter, as well as making his Q hit much harder, finishing the build with some flat AP or Magic Pen if needed. And of course all of this AP makes your Ludens procs do more damage. His special AP runes are Electrocute, and of course Ingenious Hunter. For secondaries he takes the free boots, since he's not able to farm as much as other mid laners, and then Futures Market so he can get his Sheen earlier, as well as get early power spikes before the enemies, letting him always have a damage advantage. If you want more of Tiger, his Twitter is linked below, and so is our sponsor, Porofessor. Download it from the link in the description. Thanks so much for watching.